Alright guys, I thought I'd do a quick video on Le Mans Ultimate and Assetto Corsa Competizione. The reason being, right, is over the last week, since LMU has had its December update, the player count has skyrocketed, right? So they've gone from 600 on a average evening, midweek or whatever, to in excess of 2,000 to 2,500 in around that. So a good jump. It's a combination of the GT3 cars, which would bring a lot of interest from a lot of sim racers because it's such a popular series, such a popular spec, and then the hosted servers, which means that a lot of league people can get involved, and LMU having multiclass. Yippee, everyone loves a bit of multiclass. But why I'm doing this video particularly, right? I have been a little bit... So I've seen a couple of streams over the weekend and comments being made from very respected streamers who I would follow as well, saying that the force feedback in LMU is now lacking detail, that it's now, it's lost some of its, look what made it good, basically, right? So, and particularly around the center, people are saying, like, around the center of the wheel, the sim lacked feeling. And these guys in particular mainly drive ACC. And I used to drive ACC, I've almost 2,000 hours in ACC from leagues and stuff like that. So I thought, well, let me jump into ACC and then drive in LMU and see what the actual difference is. Now, for this test, bit of housekeeping, right? So for this test, I'm going to take the McLaren 720S Evo, and both. This one is my old league car when I raced with the Amigo guys. So I would easily say hundreds of hours in this car. Now, I haven't driven it in, it must be, God, 8 months, 9 months at this stage, because I did a stint in the 296 after being in this. Now, I could have done the 296 for this particular test I'm going to do back-to-back, but because I'm doing the 296 as my main car over the last week or so in LMU, that would introduce some bias on my side, potentially. Even if I tried not to be biased, the risk is still there, and I don't want to do that because, what's the point? For the test, here is my force feedback settings, right? So you'll see there I'm not running any filters, just the interpolation filter at 1. That just puts the bare minimum bit of interpolation on the signal. The reason I don't use damping, inertia, friction, all of this, right? And the only other thing, damping, I would just maximize that to 100 if the signal has a damping channel in it. The reason for this is that if the game is simulating reality, which it should be doing, right? So the physics and the car, what the developer intends the car is doing, and the physics is basically sending a signal to the USB port on the PC. That sends a signal to the Fanatec driver. I'm on a DD2. That signal then is taken by the driver, pumped into the wheelbase, and I'm getting what the physics is giving me. That's the intention. The moment you start putting damping and friction and all of this, you are putting a different flavor on your dish, on your food, basically. Think of getting something that let's say sweet and sour. You go to a restaurant, you get a sweet and sour chicken dish, and all of a sudden you pour ketchup all over it, and then you complain to the chef that, hey, I ordered sweet and sour, but it tastes like ketchup. It's the same thing. It's you're putting filters over the force feedback signal, and then saying the feedback feels a little weird. Anyway, so that's the FFB and the driver. The FFB then in my game, I just run the gain at 50% to get rid of clipping, damper, dynamic damping, all of that turned off. Yeah, so that's it really. For the test, I'm going to run the latest CD8 Delta setup that I can find. So let's go ahead and put that on the car now. CDA at LFM Dry 01. I'm guessing that's one of the latest. Let me see, there's nothing else there. Is there? CDA race, CDA or S is race safe. So we don't really want a safe one, we just want a... Yeah, let's go with the LFM one. We'll go with the race setup. for both. So let's load the race setup. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a bit of fuel out of the car, down to 30 litres. And yeah, let's go with that. Let's just go and do a couple of laps and see how it feels. And what I'll do, we'll do the CDA setup as well for LMU. Anyway, so yeah, so a lot of criticism, like I said, has been like dead feeling around the centre, the tyre just not giving the communication, the feedback, and yeah, I just found some of the information to be quite not really factual. Right, I'm the first one to kind of give out if something doesn't feel right, if something feels a bit crap. I'll be the first one to kind of call it out. But actually, let me just check one thing. Yeah, all good. All good. But yeah, I would be the first one to call out if something didn't, you know, seem right or the physics were off or whatever in LMU. But you know, a lot of the criticism, strange enough, you know, came from, you know, ACC players, ACC streamers and stuff like that. So I thought, oh, let's jump on and drive ACC and, you know, see where the differences actually are. It's been a while since I've been in ACC, I have to be honest, so you know, my lap times may be off a little bit. I know in my league racing days when I was maining ACC quite a lot, the lap time around here would have been like 2:17s, 2:16, late 2:16s. But yeah, haven't driven this car in a long time, haven't driven this game in a long time. So what I do remember is we like the traction control to be very low on 1. I believe 0 is now a meta, and ABS on the lowest as well, so like 1 or 2 or something like that, if I recall correctly. But yeah, let's do a couple of laps and see. Like initial impressions are, yeah, I mean, I can feel what the car's doing through the steering wheel. It's not giving me a lot of nuanced detail, it's more the car moves, I can feel the weight, and that's about it. There's no detail, there's no battling grip, tyre versus tarmac, and slam on the anchors. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting enough information through the wheel. It does feel very dull and weighted, though. I think that's got to do with the setup you need to run on this to make them fast. Like the meta setups have a lot of caster angle on the wheel, on the setup. And that's just down to like an ACC meta hack thing. It's nothing of a nothing really, but it's just something that it does impact the feel of some of the cars. I think it's got to do with how the physics in this deal with camber gain through a corner. So by running like high levels of caster, you keep the camber mid-corner. And in theory that's what's giving the car a bit more turn-in grip on the front. As a result, though, what you gain on the front, you find then that the front kind of overpowers the rear on these race setups, and this is what causes the rear of this to just drift around. And then I can just feel weight here, and it's only when the slide happens I feel the slide. There's no like unloading really of the grip just as it happens. Like it's a bit, yeah. I don't want to insult ACC by saying, like, to draw a conclusion to iRacing, right? Because in iRacing you can't really feel much. It's just weight and dullness. And the slide, like when you slide or when you lose the rear, it's only as it happens. You can feel it in the feedback. With this, it's quicker, but the same kind of principle, I guess, applies. But it is a quicker response, though. I will give it that much for sure. Yeah, and at certain steering angles, it just like beyond like this amount of steering input, so probably 30 odd degrees, it's just the weight of the steering just ratchets up, and that's just down to caster, like, and you do probably lose a bit of nuanced detail. 219 got up slow. But yeah, I had many a fun time in this sim, like over the years. It's like me and a few of the guys, we've even done a 24-hour race here. In the Mercedes, we've done a 10-hour at Watkins Glen, like many endurance team events, multiple league events, special events with different communities, and yeah, you name it. Like I've done it all in ACC. So you're not going to get me saying a bad word about it, but I will be honest. Like it is. Yeah, like LMU has come on the scene and it has made a bit of an impression. Now, like I said, we'll get a bit more understanding in a sec when I jump into LMU into this car, and it's the reason like I'm not doing this test in the 296 because. As I said, I've been doing a couple of races in the 296 in Le Mans Ultimate, and I want to ensure that I'm fresh with both cars. Like, you know, haven't driven this in months, haven't driven the McLaren and LMU really apart from just 2 or 3 laps of a shakedown last week, or whenever it released. So yeah. I think I only done a couple of laps to set up a LED profile for the McLaren in LMU, so that's how out of touch I'll be with that car. But it'll be interesting to see, does it naturally feel similar to this initially? I will say off the bat that the ACC cars in a straight line do feel a bit faster. Now, I think there's a different BOP, so if I remember correct, the SRO has a more powerful engine BOP compared to the GT3 class in LMU or the LM GT3. So, you know, make it that what you will. I'll do one more lap here. Whoa. Whew. Yeah, flashbacks of actually taking Eau Rouge on a clean line. Man, that was a hard corner to get right when I was starting off in this sim. Yeah, I could see there, like, losing the rear on braking. It's just, the feedback is there, but it's not very obvious. Like, I can catch it, but it's almost like when I've caught it, too much movement has already happened. At least that's how it feels. And it needs a lot of micro corrections because tiny bit of nuance is lost in the wheel. Just a tiny bit compared to LMU from what I remember. This does feel really good though, I have to say. Like, it's not like ACC is bad or anything, like, far from it. What's going on here? Traction control, though, when it kicks in, it just dies, doesn't it? It's like forward momentum is really impacted. I have TC on 1. Turn TC2 off completely. Not that it matters, like, it's just 1 on 1, but yeah, alright, so we leave that one there. So it was a 218 for, right, so feels like I'm about 7/10 or a second or so off what I think I should be able to do. Yeah, like, that was a lot of fun, right? Like, I haven't driven this sim in months. Like, literally, this is my first few laps in this, and like, the familiarity kind of is there. Like, I'm driving it the same way as I would drive it in any other sim, LMU, AMS2, whatever. And this is what I keep saying to people all the time, like, there's more similarities in these sims than there are differences. Now, one thing that I do feel is quite a bit different, just because I've been at LMU lately, is the detail in the feedback in ACC is a lot less. Now, what I mean by that is, in ACC, like, you can feel predominantly like weight of the pitch of the car, weight of the lateral load, weight of the bit of understeer, bit of oversteer. The oversteer is a bit delayed in this car. I always did notice that with the McLaren, but you know, whatever, it's not a big deal. But yeah, a good detail generally, good fun, predictable, easy to drive. One thing I did notice was, you know, again, having been driving LMU a lot lately, with ACC, I find in the braking areas that the car feels like very heavy. So you would be like literally standing on the brake pedal, the car would slow down a set amount, but it wouldn't really continue to slow down as it slowed down. So as the car slows, like, there's less momentum carrying it forward, you would probably expect the braking to, you know, increase, or the deceleration to maybe increase a little, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, good fun. You know, car felt really nice, sounds really good. Nothing bad to say, and yeah, I mean, I can see why ACC still has the popularity it has. Like, I mean, there's nothing bad about it. Like, the only thing I'll say is some of the corrections are a bit delayed, but everything else is there. And I will say that at the time we're recording this video, so December the 17th, 2024, the wet weather in ACC I would prefer. Now, I know on paper LMU has the wet line and it washes away the rubber, so there's more correct stuff going on. But what I don't like about LMU at the moment is when you have like standing water or a puddle in LMU, it doesn't do anything. There's no like interaction with the tire or the car. It's just like you drive through the puddle. It's visual only. So, but I do think they'll be on top of that soon enough, and I hope they fix it. That's the only, and it's a big immersion killer for me personally, because I'm so used to ACC. You know, you'd be coming down Camel here in the wet, and everyone knows the top of Eau Rouge. You have that puddle that kind of goes to the right side, and you're trying to hold the car straight as you plough through it. You know, that, like, wet weather racing is probably a bit depressing anyway, right? So when you have these fun things that can happen, like the standing water and fighting the car that way, you take that away, I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's a bit of an immersion killer for me. But anyway, enough about that. Let's jump into Le Mans Ultimate, grab the McLaren, go to Spa, do the same thing again, do a couple of laps, and see what this difference in feel that all of these streamers are mentioning, or some of the streamers are mentioning, is all about. And this is not, by the way, this is not to start attacking particular people online, right? Just be clear on this. This is more about me kind of defending the LMU development a little bit. And I have no skin in the game with LMU. I'm not affiliated with them. I don't have shares in motorsport games. I'm not an employee. I'm not endorsing anyone. But when, you know, there's a lot of effort going into a game from the Studio 397 guys, I just want to make sure that the information that's put out there is correct. That's all. And people can make up their own decision, right? But hopefully this has given an alternative viewpoint. But anyway, let's jump into LMU and do the same thing. Alright guys, we're in Le Mans Ultimate. Let us have a check of the force feedback profile. So here I've loaded my McLaren profile, tuning menu, so driver settings exactly the same as ACC pretty much. The only difference, like I said, I will change the force feedback strength. The 13 Newton meters up there, by the way, ignore that, right? So I won't spend too much time on this, right? But DD2, 25 Newton meter wheelbase, running this at 45 or 50% in theory will give you half of that. And then running the game at less than 100% of its gain, theory would say, oh, Gary, you're only going to get about 6 or 7 Newton meters, right? But I've done a FFB video a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, where I can actually see on my DD2 the actual force output. Forgetting all these numbers, forgetting all these percentage sliders, I can see the actual FFB to the motor in the wheelbase, right? So
temperature's increasing.
I set these
Celsius.
numbers up on how I feel, and what matches about 12 to 13 Newton meters on my wheelbase of peak torque. So whatever these numbers say, I ignore them. I just look at the wheelbase and the actual feel and what I actually get. But anyway, enough about that. So point is, same settings, just the strength may be more or less just for the sim itself. But again, just the raw output with one set to interpolation in the game then. And let's jump into settings. Yeah, I've got all of the assists off, but we are looking for controls, force feedback, and there you can see that I have the smoothing off, I have the torque and all of the other, like no other effects basically, right? That's no damping or nothing like that. In terms of setups, like I said, we're going to run the latest and hopefully greatest CDA Delta setup, where we manage setups. We'll go with the race setup, same as we did for ACC. Let's load that up. And the only difference I'm going to make is we're going to carry about 30 litres of fuel, which I think we done on the other one as well, I think. Anyway.
Locking disabled.
So let's go ahead and get a few laps the same way as we did with ACC. So yeah, like in terms of people saying there's no feeling around the center of the wheel, I mean, I can feel, like, absolutely I can feel. I'll just reset the force feedback actually. Yeah, but I mean I can feel
Still on. Disengage it.
I can feel the weight immediately in the center. So,
Got cold brakes.
and you can see there, like, I don't know if you can see the steering wheel too clear on the camera here, right? But if I just kind of, and I'm going slow by the way, if I just move the steering wheel, you can see it wants to recenter itself immediately. So this lack of feel around the center, I don't quite get it. There's definitely feedback there, but anyway, let's get on with the laps. Just gonna. Oh yeah, and cold tires on this game are definitely a thing. Let me just bring the ABS down to 7. Yeah, the car does feel a little bit slower, I think, on the straights compared to ACC. The first lap here is going to be just not representative at all, just because the tires are still warming up. Even turning here, right? So when I was turning at this level in ACC, all I could feel really was a lot of weight. But here, I can actually feel varying levels through my hand, through the wheel. It's like that nuance. It's like when the car's rolling over the tarmac, it's like I can feel the tire actually rolling on the surface almost. The force feedback is just a lot more informative, like, and I'm not even pushing, like, this is just the outlap with, you know, cold tires, but it has to be said, like, and this is not me being an LMU fanboy, this is like, it is obviously more detailed, Let's continue anyway. And again, this is not to say the LMU is better, nothing like that. This is just like me wondering, like, what the fuck are these streamers, like what planet are they on? If they claim that there's not much detail around the center, it just does not make sense to me. It's so sharp, man, it's so quick. feel a bit of the ABS through the steering wheel, like that jolt as the caliper grabs left and right wheel. Yeah, not used to this car in this sim at all. I don't, like I say, I've mainly been in the 296 since this pack released. Oh, understeer. Oh, the back.
Mind these track limits, please, Gary.
Yeah, it does feel really nice. You know, it's I'm driving it the same way. It's getting the same sort of tendencies that the ACC version was giving as well. So the car itself seems to be simulated quite similarly. This setup is a little bit more neutral compared to the ACC one. Again, I'm not going for lap times here because I don't really know this car too well in this sim, which is the point of doing the test in this car. Way more detail, man. Like where ACC, you can feel like the weight in the wheel shifting. In LMU, you can feel to what degree it's shifting as it's doing it. Like it's just finer detail, much finer detail. Let's bring the TC down a smidge on the slip, the lateral angle, and the overall force. I pushed wide there. That'll be invalid, surely.
Brake temperatures are okay.
Yeah, I mean, both feel really nice to drive. Just no doubt about that. Like ACC is fun as well. Like I'm not saying it isn't. This is purely like me trying to figure out. Don't invalidate that. Don't invalidate. Phew.
Track limits.
This is purely about trying to figure out where the YouTube videos I watched over the weekend, where those opinions are coming from. Yeah, I mean the amount of detail around the center there as I corrected that little mini slide. It's just like what are these people? And I'm not going to get into like bad mouthing them because I've got a lot of respect for the people in question, right? So I give them the benefit of the doubt. I assume that they were running like certain wheel settings that were just might work in ACC or whatever, but I don't know. Tons of detail, like you can see here, like surely that how I'm reacting to some of the stuff going on. Like, and I'm not quick in this car at all. Like this is not my main GT3 car at the moment. Like that's the Ferrari, like I said earlier. But
left side tyres are cold.
So it's not like I'm a Jedi in this or anything. Like, and I'm not an eSport pro by any stretch. So no, not yet. Probably not ever, I don't know. If I become half an alien, I'll be happy. Sooner a lap or two. Yeah, it's very enjoyable, this. And now, in terms of like graphics and sound between the two, I mean, just while we're here, like this does look more natural. ACC does have nice colour pop. So,
watch the track limits.
Is one worse than the other? I don't know. It's just down to like what visuals you prefer. Like this is a more natural colour tone for sure, for absolute certainty. But ACC has that rich vibrance about the colours, the graphics. So that'll be a personal preference thing. Nice car, this. So neutrally balanced. Like, I find with ACC the cars are they're either understeer or oversteer. There's no neutral point. Where with this, like, there's understeer, there's oversteer, and there's neutral. In ACC, I don't really feel neutral too often. Even here I can feel just minutely like all four wheels just slipping
watch your rear tyres, they're pretty cold.
Gently across the tarmac. Yeah, in ACC I find like it's either an extreme case of push understeer or else coming into a slow area where you're braking in, there's a lot of kind of oversteer, like as the weight shifts forward. So I mean, and that can be correct as well, like don't get me wrong, I mean that's weight shift 101 what I'm explaining, but I just think the degree of what it happens or how it happens just seems a bit extreme. Right, we'll do one more lap. So I am quite slowish in this. I think, what am I doing in the Ferrari here? I think it's 18s, 19s, I don't know. Ooh, fucking hell. See, that there is what I'm saying. You can feel it like just as it's about to happen, just as something is unloading somewhere on the four corners. You feel it as it's happening just, and it's enough time to react. And it tells you in the right kind of quantity as well. There's another example, just right there, of a four-wheel slip. Just a mini little drift to help the car around the corner. Get the back to come around, there we go, helps with rotation. It's just much more, I don't want to use the term natural, but it's more natural, like. It's doing what a car should do, like, you know? A little bit wide here, that's going to cost time. Natural slide, beautiful. This is the thing with this game, you can manipulate the car in the corners and through the corners. That is missing in ACC, I find. ACC is very like a binary switch. It's like, here's the way you enter a corner, here's where you go on throttle, here's the way you exit the corner, and if you deviate from that, it's like, right, you're going to get a ton of understeer here if you don't do it this way, or a lot of oversteer here, and you know, where in LMU you still get the negatives like the understeer, the oversteer, but to a much lesser extent, and you can manipulate the car more. Not even a 219. Holy shit, this is bad.
You've just done a 220.17. That's your quickest lap in this session.
Well, considering I've ever driven the car, I'll chalk that up so as the excuse. Yeah, I'll get through Rouge. If the sector delta goes green at the top of Radion, we'll continue on, but I don't think it will be. I've no practice in the car, so yeah. Well, let's continue.
Let's finish off this lap just to see
how good or bad I actually am in a new car here. Last lap.
We've got cold tyres, we need to get some heat into them.
Yeah, I'm just being sloppy in a few areas. Not fully sure where the limit of the car is, but either way, like, that's not the point of this test. It's more about kind of finding out kind of which of the, you know, which or where this FFB feeling problem issue kind of comes from. But yeah, tell you what, we'll just park up the car here. So, well, yeah, like a picture or a video paints 1,000 words, right? Like, you could see in the video, you know, exactly what was going on in terms of car control or you know, lack of car control in certain areas, the four-wheel slip, the being able to induce the understeer or the oversteer. And considering, like, I haven't driven this car, you know, this is also a testament to ACC as well, like that I was able to basically jump in here, having just come from ACC, and immediately be comfortable with the car. Now, the car did feel a little slower compared to ACC's car. I haven't looked back at the speeds, but it did feel a bit slower compared to this, or compared to ACC. So ACC, I felt most of the difference was straight line pace, and it also felt like the car in ACC had a bit more downforce. You know, the balance was a bit off. Like ACC on turning, I could feel like a lot of weight ramping up, similar to iRacing actually. Like I've got the Ferrari 296 on there, and one thing I find is that the more you steer, the more steering angle you put into the 296 on iRacing, the more the wheel just ramps up with weight, you know, and it's not really giving you much information. I kind of found that a bit with ACC. You turn in, now I know the caster is really high, but that's how you have to run the cars to be, you know, meta quick. But still, you know, there was no nuanced detail there. There was no, you know, gradually coming up to the limit of the tyre. Certainly not in an obvious way. Now, I did find myself after a few laps starting to groove into that. Like, I was starting to predict, I was starting to say, yeah, this feeling equals this. And again, that was kind of driving on memory, where with LMU, it was like the feeling it's given me, I know what to do immediately, because it feels like, oh, and I hate to say it, but it feels like a better simulation of a car. That's not to say that LMU is automatically better. Like, I love ACC, brilliant sim, tons of hours in there, multiple leagues. And, you know, if I wasn't playing LMU, I'd be playing ACC still. You know, even ahead of iRacing. I won't get into iRacing. That'll be a separate video, maybe. But, yeah. Anyway, the whole point of this, I'm trying to figure out, like, where these guys were saying that the steering around the centre felt a bit dead. I just don't feel it. I really don't feel it. Now, one other thing. Someone said in the pits that the steering felt very light. So let's check that theory. Now, when I move, I can feel a bit of weight in the steering here. As you naturally would, so I can feel weight as anyone would, right? Let's put it into neutral and stop the car. So power steering is kicked in, of course. I can still feel a bit of friction. When I move, there's a bit of self-centering force on the wheel, just very slightly. The wheel just gets that little heavier. And if I knock the car off, it still feels light. Maybe when the car's off, you might expect the steering to get a little heavier, because there's no power steering obviously at work. But Jesus, I mean, we're nitpicking now, aren't we? If we're gonna, you know, if we're gonna hold that against it, and that's I'm sure a simple fix, I would think, for a game developer to do. don't know if it's in the other cars, I don't know. It doesn't seem to be in this, which is what matters, right? This is the one we're reviewing. But yeah, look. Driven them back to back. It was probably obvious, what I was trying to explain as I was driving it. And this is why I've done these tests, right? And this is why I picked the McLaren, because if I pick the Ferrari or whatever, I'll bring bias into the discussion, and that's going to benefit nobody, because I know I know how the Ferrari feels too well compared to what I would know in ACC, But yeah, look, there's a lot of I would go as far as to say misinformation being branded about the place. LMU is not without its couple of problems here and there. There's still the odd crash for some people. I was having a lot of crashes actually until recently. What I'd done a few days ago was reset the BIOS on my motherboard completely to factory spec. No overclocks, no overclock on the memory, so no XMP profiles, no AI Intel or ASUS overclocks, GPU running standard clocks as well. And I haven't had a crash since. And I also re-downloaded the game the following morning as well, just to be doubly sure. And yeah, no game crashes since. And I will also just finally call out that, the reason I made this video, and again, this is not to sling shit at people, and I won't, because the people I'm sort of referring to, I have a lot of respect for in the esport world. They've done a lot. But when I see, generalizations being made or opinions being put out there that I know are not right, and couple that with the effort that the Studio 397 guys are putting into this game, and it's no surprise, right, that the success of this is directly relating to their future careers, right, because this is probably the last roll of the dice for Studio 397, Motorsport Games, whatever, and they have to get it right. And they've got a lot right. They've the support in their Discord channel, like we have community managers, marketing guys, even the VP himself is in there, developers are in there, weekends, after hours, giving help, tips, advice, troubleshooting, getting log files if somebody suffers a game crash. The effort going in, I have not seen before on any consumer product or service in my lifetime, right? And I'm 39 years old, right? Never seen anything like it. And at a level, when I see the effort going in and I see the result coming out the other end of it, such as the game improving all the time, then I feel that the right thing to do is to try to defend, if I can, if I know that something is factually incorrect. And some of the comments that I heard, like about the tyre doing, there's an own thing, by the way, with the tyre, right? I think on one of the hypercars, like if you put a lot of steering lock on, it's not losing grip on the front end. Now the clip that this relates to was like half a second of that happening, and in theory, yeah, you think, right, that probably shouldn't happen, it looks a bit odd, but you know what, they've taken it on, they're like, yeah, let's have a look at that, let's gather more data, and we'll work on getting that patched if possible. But by and large, like, what this is relating to is the FFB and how it's been different and all that, and it's not, I don't think it is. Like, I mean, it still feels similar to me. It's LMU at this point in time is what I would probably drive the most. And like I said, if I feel that something is being said incorrectly about that team, or about any team really that's putting in a lot of effort and doing things right, and I know that it's incorrect information, yeah, I just feel obliged to really just try to defend it a little bit in a respectful way. I'm not into this slinging shit at people or whatever, saying, oh, so-and-so is wrong and so-and-so doesn't know what they're talking about and whatever. It's not about that. Anyway, look, I'll leave this one here, guys. Thanks for watching it. If you're on the fence with LMU, look, take it from me, it is, and this is where opinions come in. This is my opinion, right? I have all of the simulators that's on the market, except Sport, but I have all the other ones, and I'm lucky enough I have all the DLCs, and you know, so I kind of been fortunate enough to drive the latest releases from every studio and whatever. And at this point in time, I do think LMU is like a generational step ahead in physics and force feedback. They have other problems, not disputing that, but in terms of physics and stuff, they are a step ahead. And I think visually the game looks great as well. Like the sound, the visuals are absolutely awesome. But yeah, I mean, look, again, that's my opinion. But yeah, look, we leave it there. Hopefully this has given a bit of insight and shed a bit of light on the whole debacle. And yeah, let me know what you think. If you're an LMU regular and you've been about this game since the release, and I did take a 6-month break in between. I went racing ovals in iRacing for about 5 or 6 months. So there's guys out there with a lot more experience than me. So I'd love to hear from those if the FFB has changed. For me, I don't think it has at all. Detail is always, like, if anything, it's improved as time went on. But I don't think it's changed. The last release, I certainly doesn't feel it. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think. And yeah, until the next one.